Hello and welcome back to the channel, folks. HeirofCarthage here, and welcome to the Featherweight Championship of the Ancient World. No, I don't mean that about the players. I guess I'm kind of teasing the factions, although a lot of people would probably prefer Massilia over Syracuse. Although I don't think Syracuse is just absolutely gosh-awful. I mean, they are pretty bad in some ways, but they do have a few redeeming qualities, we'll say. I don't think one of them is Thorax Hoplites, though. If I remember right, these guys didn't do anything particular. Well, never mind. They have the 30 damage spear. I'm thinking of a different hoplite that I must have seen. So, yeah, having a 30 damage spear is pretty baller, actually, for Rome 2, because not a lot of units get that. We got the Thorax, and let's see, what was this one? We got Mercenary Balearic Slingers, it looks like. Standard Slingers. So one Mercenary Balearic, two Balearics, two standard, so 4 total slingers, and it looks like Thorax Hoplites, mostly mixed with a little bit of Militia Hoplite up front, and then some Samnite Warriors in a second line. Mercenary Italian Cavalry, because that's how you spit in the face of Citizen Cavalry. And then we've got the Hippeus Lancers here, so a heavy Lance Battalion. Let's go take a look at the Massilian army. There are going to be several Skirmisher Cavalry out here, nice cheap skirmishing capability. And then the general is a Massilian Cavalry. This is just a medium melee cav unit, and it looks like there's another one with them, as well as a Massilian Thuriospears. Looks like 2 of those in the back. 2 more Massilian cav out to that flank, and then it looks like we're going to have a line of Massilian Hoplites, which, remember, these Hoplites come with a pretty sturdy charge bonus and also the 30 damage spear. Then there's some Celtic Slingers up front. Now, Celtic Slingers, not the world's best. They are not going to perform anything like the Balearic Slingers, but what they lack in power, they make up for with cheap, and so that's how they tend to be useful potentially. So I do see some sling fire actually coming out over here at the Skirmisher Cavalry from Syracuse. So I feel like the infantry fight is fairly close. I mean, maybe a little in the favor of Syracuse because of this backline of Samnites. But still, it's a pretty good... Wow, man, those Militia Hoplites were taking some hits there. The Cavalry, I'm not exactly sure how Massilian Cavalry shakes out against Italian. I think it's better. Yeah, it is better. Alright, so the Massilian Cavalry should have an advantage. The Hippeus Lancer is quite good, but it's only going to be really solid on the charge. Afterwards, it won't be as good. It looks like Massilia is kind of just focusing into infantry. It's like they know they can't win. So it looks like most of their shots are just plowing into the hoplite line, and honestly, they've significantly softened that one Militia Hoplite. They may be just trying to soften the front line. Look at this. Syracuse and Tarentine Cavalry getting a cheeky charge into the side of those Celtic Slingers and a quick cleanup, while the Skirmisher Cavalry stays busy with the other unit out here. Now, Tarentine Cavalry has a shield. I think it's... I don't know how different the shield is. And they've got slightly better melee stats than that Skirmisher Cavalry, a little bit heavier mass. But they should also have a difficult time keeping up with the slightly lighter cavalry. Yeah, some of those Militia Hoplites are taking a beating. But the Slingers for Syracuse are gaining a steady advantage here. So Massilia is just, at this point, looking to cause as much damage as they can. Are these Thuriospears going to chuck their javelins here? They are. They're actually throwing their javelins at the Thorax Hoplite. So Massilia does appear to be taking the track of do as much damage to the Syracusan infantry as possible, which is an interesting tack. We'll see if it works. It very well might. You never know. So we'll kind of see. But I mean, once the Celtic Skirmishers are out of the way, feasibly, Syracuse should be able to do the same to the Massilian infantry, with little in the way of return fire coming. But you know, the play here may be thinking, oh, Celtic Slingers are cheap, whatever hit point damage I do to a more expensive unit is worth it, whereas these Balearic Slingers doing all of their damage for the most part against a cheap unit will not be worth it, right? So the gold trade could be a big deal in the end, depending on how each faction is capable of trading from a budget standpoint. These Massilian Thuriospears are chucking some javelins in here. One Militia Hoplite is down, so that's an entire unit of infantry taken out of the battle before it even started. There's another Massilian Thuriospear moving up. They may be attempting to throw into the Balearic Slingers, and it looks like Syracuse sees that potential and is going to intercept them with a Thorax Hoplite. So let's see what happens now. Massilia is moving forward. Just a few Celtic slingers left, nothing big. And let's see how that Massilian cavalry comes to bear. I kind of feel like that Syracuse kind of just needs to stay at home with its cavalry, let the infantry fight grind, use its slingers to wear out the Massilian cavalry, and maybe infantry where necessary. The Massilian hoplites are going to have the superior charge here, and if the Syracusans just take the charge, like here, that's not going to be good. It's going to give the Massilian hoplites a very solid start in that fight. However, there are mercenary Samnites to try and turn some of that. Right there, the Massilian hoplites took a lot of damage off those Balearic slingers. So let's just kind of see how that plays out. Like I said, I think the Massilian cavalry, or sorry, the Syracusan cavalry should not be getting aggressive like this. They should just be using the Samnite to hold the flank. This is a mistake. So Massilia has an opportunity here. And like I said, I'd like to see the slinger fire either picking at a single infantry target or... I mean, their hoplites could hold for a long time while they use their Samnites to do good damage elsewhere. Look at this. Cavalry getting outnumbered over here and hit by supporting infantry, so not a great start for Syracuse with the cavalry. I think they should have just kind of held their cavalry at home and kept the enemy out of their back lines with the Samnite warriors while allowing their slingers to just pepper any target they can get a hold of, like the general or anything else. But now, yeah, the slingers are already being threatened by some of that Massilian cavalry here, and that Balearic slinger is an expensive target to be taking damage like that. And look, the other one's under threat now here because the cavalry was thrown into that engagement a little too early. So, and the Hippeus Lancer is trying to extract itself from those Thurio spears and continue fighting. So there is some moves here to come and protect those slingers. I like that from Syracuse. They need to do that. Going to have to keep those units safe. The Massilian general still just kind of holding there. Let's see how those Samnites are holding up. This one's getting outnumbered, and it's not going well for them. Elsewhere, this Samnite's doing pretty darn well. This one has, I think, been copying slinger fire here. It's not doing well also. So the potential advantage of having those Samnites is wearing up. Now here's where the slingers might be able to even this back out. See that Massilian hoplite as its back face to these slingers. Do they have enough ammunition left to affect this fight in a big way? See, look, now they have to turn around and potentially face that incoming cavalry charge, but the slingers were quickly really doing some damage here into the back of these hoplites. Looks like there is a mercenary Italian cav pursuing that horse skirmisher. The horse skirmisher is going to get some damage done versus the slingers. And there's more Massilian cavalry on this flank, and the general is pretty healthy, so the situation needs some help. Here comes the Hippeus Lancers. They're going to attempt to help here. Breakthrough here. Those Samnites routed when they lost that slinger support. They got rear charged by the Massilian Thurio spear. And that Hippeus Lancer should lay down a pretty stout charge on that Massilian cavalry, but the Massilian cavalry will fare pretty well there in a drawn-out fight, and then there's Thurio spears nearby, so I think the early fight here for Syracuse went really well in terms of the skirmish, but the initial infantry engagements, they took some charges they didn't need to take from the Massilian hoplites who have a really solid charge, and their slingers just never got a chance to repay that damage that you saw the Massilian slingers do to the Syracusan infantry early. I almost think it would have been interesting, so for instance, the Massilian slingers started firing at the Syracusan infantry. It would have been curious to see the Syracusan slingers turn around and start firing at the Massilian infantry, because they had Balearics there, right? And the Balearics would have made a much bigger difference much faster. So I think that if the Massilian player in this case had turned around and seen their infantry coming under heavy fire, they would have had to change tactics, which then may have played back into the favor of the Syracusans, whereas it looks like the play by Massilia to weaken the Syracusan infantry has played out quite well, and then their cavalry was used to good effect to minimize the late game impact these slingers had. Now, game's not over. I mean, it's still in favor of Syracuse, but we'll see. Like here, Syracuse is going to have potential issues because they're just running out of units. They don't have much infantry left to hold together any type of line, and my guess is that the slingers are probably running low on ammunition at this point because they spent a fair deal of it on the cheaper Celtic slingers. And like I said, that ammunition in the end should have been spent on the Massilian infantry. So these Balearic slingers, though, getting some really nice point-blank shots into that infantry. Some cycle charges by the Tarentine cavalry, getting results over here where that Thorax hoplite has a unit fixed. So a couple of the Syracusan units getting this job done. So this could end up being an interesting finish here. Again, it's going to really just depend on the level of ammunition, and we can't see how much ammo is left on these slingers. That's something that came in later Total War titles. It's not something that the stats are going to tell us here. That is the unshielded flank of that Massilian hoplite. It's taking some fire. It's moving slightly here. And maybe another unit that routes to fire. That Hippeus Lancer General here, still alive. Very few units left, though. And then out here, that Thorax hoplite holding out nicely for a long time against those Massilian hoplites. So let's check the slingers and look for daggers. Daggers are not drawn there. Daggers are drawn here, so this unit is out of ammunition. I believe that was one of the standard slingers. This Balearic slinger has daggers out, as does this one. So this fight is actually not as bad for Massilia as it would have looked a few moments ago with those units being out of ammunition. However, there is still cavalry roving the field and enough infantry to fix these Massilian hoplites. So this could be a loss for Massilia here. The power bar says definitely so, but I've seen weirder things happen in Total War, so we'll just wait. But I think that Syracuse is going to have enough left. It didn't look like they would there for a moment, but those slingers did eventually seem to turn that around. But let's see what happens here. You know, you never know, a general dying or something weird happening can shift things. Comes the Sam Knights charging into that Massilian hoplite. The Massilian hoplite should have about an equal charge, to be honest, and they're decent against armor, whereas the Sam Knights are really not very good against armor. They've only got 4 armor piercing, so there's double the AP in that hoplite, and pretty much the same attack as the Sam Knight. Check out the 57 defense, 74 defense. Yeah, the hoplite is probably a superior unit there, to be honest. I think sometimes we just think sword units are superior, but I don't think it is in this case. I think the big difference for the Sam Knight Warrior is that it has precursor javelins. But yeah, it does look like Syracuse is going to pull this off, so well done. I think that my brain was seeing Syracuse on the field and didn't like the position I saw them in, but they did it. They had enough left. So this is going to be a very nice win here for Syracuse, and honestly, and again, I'm not perfect, but what in my mind looked like a loss coming, because Massilia had done a really good job of kind of breaking the lines, and they did get after those slingers, but they weren't able to finish them. So in the end, Syracuse did keep enough cavalry around. So Ram, I apologize. Well done. You had that one, and I thought it was slipping away, but managed to take down Hotel Soap here with his Massilia build. And again, well done. Pretty good performance out of a couple of those Sam Knights. One of them got shafted a little bit early. The Thorax hoplites, nothing amazing except for this one, doing pretty good. The Balearic slingers did play a big role in the end. They ended up getting to expend all their ammunition, which is definitely critical for units like that. But the Hippeus Lancer, I think, played a big role here too, with 177 kills. Definitely came in. And then just those little bit of cavalry charges from the Tarentine cavalry, look at that one, 164 kills, did manage to turn some of those infantry fights. So I guess you can't underestimate the morale impact of the rear charges. But well done. That one had me confused. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. HeirofCarthage signing out for now. I'll be back with more soon.